What if I told you that today's rocket launch isn't just about putting satellites into orbit? What if it's actually a single calculated move in a $210 billion chess game? Most people see the fire and the thunder, but the smart money sees the blueprint for one of the most audacious financial machines ever built. In a world of financial noise, let's find the signal. Welcome to Smart Money Sense. Today, we're not just looking at a rocket. We are dissecting the SpaceX Launch Financial Impact. We're going beyond the headlines to show you exactly how each Falcon 9 launch fuels Elon Musk's ultimate vision and builds a valuation that dwarfs legacy giants. We'll break down the numbers, from the real cost of a launch to the revenue streams that are quietly funding the mission to Mars. By the end of this video, you won't see a launch the same way again. You'll see the dollars behind the dream. To understand the SpaceX Launch Financial Impact, you first have to understand the core innovation that changed everything: reusability. For decades, space launch was a disposable business. Imagine flying from New York to London, then throwing the Boeing 747 into the ocean. That's how rockets worked. The cost was astronomical. Then came SpaceX. Their Falcon 9 rocket has a first-stage booster designed to return to Earth and be used again. And again. And again. Some of these boosters have flown more than 20 times. This single engineering feat has slashed the cost of reaching orbit. Let's talk numbers. In 2025, a single Falcon 9 launch costs a customer roughly $67 million. That might sound like a lot, but competitors like United Launch Alliance or Blue Origin have historically charged well over $100 million for a comparable launch. This cost advantage has allowed SpaceX to achieve a near monopoly. They currently control over 60% of the global commercial launch market. It's not just a lead, it's dominance. They've turned access to space from a luxury government-run program into a commercial logistics business, and they are the undisputed market leader. This consistent, high-volume launch business forms the financial bedrock of the company. But it's what they're launching for themselves that reveals the true genius of the model. We're about to get into the multi-billion-dollar reason why SpaceX is launching so many of its own rockets. If you're finding this financial breakdown valuable, take a second to hit that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is the kind of smart financial analysis people want to see, and it genuinely helps the channel reach more curious minds like yours. Okay, let's talk about Starlink. Many of the launches you see, including the one that prompted this video, are for Starlink. Starlink is SpaceX's satellite internet constellation, designed to provide high-speed internet to literally every corner of the globe. As of mid-2025, there are over 7,600 of these satellites in orbit. And this constellation is rapidly becoming a financial powerhouse. While the launch division brings in steady revenue from clients like NASA and other satellite companies, Starlink is where the explosive growth is. Projections for 2025 suggest Starlink could generate revenues of around $12.3 billion, a staggering 58% increase from the previous year. Combined with its other contracts, Elon Musk projects SpaceX's total revenue for 2025 will be about $15.5 billion. Think about that. A decade ago, this was a science fiction project. Today, it's on track to become a business with revenues comparable to established companies like Warner Bros. Discovery or American Airlines. The Starlink revenue model is simple. Charge users a monthly subscription for internet access. With over 4 million subscribers and growing, that recurring revenue is incredibly valuable. But it's also more than that. Starlink is providing high-margin services to airlines, cruise ships, and even the military. This massive, predictable cash flow does two things. First, it makes the entire SpaceX enterprise vastly more stable and less reliant on one-off launch contracts. Second, and this is the crucial part, it provides the funding for SpaceX's ultimate goal: Starship and the colonization of Mars. Every Starlink launch isn't just expanding an internet service, it's pouring concrete for the foundation of a multi-planetary future, paid for by your monthly internet bill. The SpaceX Launch Financial Impact is, in essence, a self-funding loop. So we have a dominant launch business and a hyper-growth satellite internet provider. How does that translate into a private market valuation of over $210 billion as of mid-2025? Understanding the SpaceX valuation explained simply comes down to this: potential. Private market investors are not just valuing what SpaceX is today, they're valuing what it could become. They see a company with a near monopoly in a critical industry, launch, a massive and rapidly growing recurring revenue business, Starlink, and a pipeline of future technologies, Starship, that could redefine transport both on Earth and beyond. Monopoly power, high barriers to entry, low-cost advantage. Recurring revenue, predictable cash flow from millions of subscribers. Vertical integration, they build the rockets, launch the satellites, and sell the service. They control the entire value chain. Future growth, the potential of Starship to launch even larger satellites for less cost, and even point-to-point travel on Earth. This is why, even as a private company, its valuation rivals public giants like Disney or Nike. Investors are betting that the economics of the commercial space race will be dominated by one player, and right now, that player is SpaceX. There's also consistent talk of a future Starlink IPO. Spinning off Starlink as its own public company could unlock tens of billions of dollars, providing a massive return for early investors and injecting even more capital into SpaceX's ambitious projects. This potential future liquidity event is a huge part of the current valuation. When you see a Starlink launch, you're not just watching an engineering marvel, you are watching a company actively building assets for what could be one of the biggest IPOs of the next decade. We've covered the costs, the revenues, and the valuation. But what do you think is the most powerful part of SpaceX's financial model? Is it the cheap launches or the massive potential of Starlink? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your perspective helps shape our future analyses. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing so you don't miss our deep dives into the financial stories that matter. Now, a $200 billion valuation doesn't come without risks. The commercial space race economics are getting more intense. Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos, is developing its own heavy-lift reusable rocket, New Glenn. While they are years behind, they have the financial backing to be a long-term competitor. Furthermore, SpaceX's entire long-term plan hinges on the success of Starship, the massive, fully reusable rocket currently in development. Starship is designed to slash launch costs even further and deploy the next generation of larger Starlink satellites. If Starship faces significant delays or fails to deliver on its promises, it could put a serious dent in the company's growth trajectory. Regulatory hurdles are also a factor. The satellite industry is governed by international agreements, and there are growing concerns about orbital debris and the cluttering of space. So while the picture today looks incredibly rosy, the path to dominating the space economy isn't guaranteed. It requires flawless execution, constant innovation, and navigating a complex geopolitical landscape. That's what makes investing in the space economy so thrilling, but also so challenging. So let's bring it all back to today's launch. That single rocket flight is so much more than its $67 million price tag. It is a moving part in a vertically integrated financial engine. One, it reinforces SpaceX's launch dominance by demonstrating reliability and cadence. Two, it expands the Starlink constellation, a multi-billion-dollar recurring revenue machine. Three, it builds investor confidence, sustaining a private valuation that makes SpaceX one of the most valuable companies in the world. And four, it generates the cash needed to fund the next giant leap, Starship. The real SpaceX launch. Financial impact isn't measured in the success of one mission, but in how each mission strengthens this incredible self-perpetuating cycle of innovation and financial growth. Now you have a clearer picture of the financial engine behind every SpaceX launch. But I want to know what you think. Leave a comment below with your biggest question or takeaway from this analysis. And if you're ready for the next topic, click the video on your screen now. Subscribe to join the conversation and keep building your financial sense. See you in the comments.